Well, this is Brian. We're back again, and it's the 10th of the 6th, 2016, and the revisitation of the flat Earth is necessitated by some of the criticisms that have been coming forth. I have to say, a very small number, but significant to my way of thinking, particularly when people use ridicule as some kind of criticism of what you're attempting to communicate. So, I mean, ridicule gets no support from me whatsoever. Even if a person is wrong, why ridicule them? I mean, this is actually kind of like an undignified way to behave. And I don't take people down who say stupid stuff in comments about my videos, but I have to say I don't take any notice when the criticisms become irrational and ridicule is used as a device to undermine what's been said. So just returning to this fascinating subject of a flat earth, and I've only come to it as a mature person. I guess you could call me a senior citizen now for what it's worth. But I have to say, I do agree with those people who say, well, you think the world is a globe. Tell me where you've seen it with your eyes. And of course, people can't do that. And even the one or two pictures that have been presented to us of the world as a globe, taken supposedly by NASA and engineered in their photographic studios or their computer studios, I have to say that they are certainly not convincing at all. There's an amazing number of people now coming on board, and actually it's very, very interesting to see that the evangelical church is now being taking an interest, but more to the point with the revision of Enoch, once regarded as suspect, but now being taken seriously. The book of Enoch, should I say, has been taken seriously. It's just great because, of course, Enoch and Job, the book of Job, two books in the library of revelation to man, are just absolutely necessary for lights on when it comes to understanding the book of Genesis and other books in the Bible. I think the absence of curves for me has become possibly the most compelling justificational argument for the flat earth. And as I have said recently, I've returned from the Northern Hemisphere, flown at, I think it was 37,000 feet, and no evidence whatsoever of curves anywhere. But even more interesting, in Europe, I went to some fairly high places where you could virtually see 360 degrees. Well, obviously you have to turn in order to do that, but I couldn't see any curves. I've seen some wonderful open spaces where the horizon has stretched for most amazing distances, and no, not the slightest hint of curves, of a curve. So it's all flat out there. More interesting is the now strong collection of material being assembled on YouTube by, serious-minded people. The arguments and the quotes that I've managed to dig up going back over 400 years, and I mean it's the early church, of course, and in particular when it came to the Reformation, which re-established the primacy of Scripture solely by Scripture. There you have Luther and Calvin both taking strong positions on the flat earth. Interesting that the Catholic Church generated a first debate And even more interesting was Luther's reaction to Copernicus. He had no time for him whatsoever, in fact regarded him as a joke. And there you got a serious-minded person, at least I thought he was, like Newton, actually bolstering the arguments for the globe. Of course, Newton, although many regarded him as a Christian, he had a very unusual view of Christianity. He excluded the Trinity. And of course, one could then say, well, that's interesting. And there are some issues there that are quite serious. Newton. I think he has to actually be regarded with a certain amount of suspicion. And also his dalliances with alchemy. Well, there are commingling various other philosophies with the revelation of Scripture. Right, so I think the wonderful part about this is that even though there is a downside to the social media, this is actually allowing a huge debate to take place. It's now become very heated. It's got tremendous punch behind it. In fact, I just recently looked at a video and I thought, well, if there's such a thing as a knockout punch to the globe, I've just seen it. But I'm going to continue my own investigations, accumulating evidence for the flat Earth. And also, having just been to the UK and looked at the Mundi map, Mappamundi, I feel more compelled than ever to continue down this path. Sad to say, but very few people have actually thought outside of the box that they've been put into with their education. And I don't think we should at all be concerned about revision. I think we should challenge our ideas. And I mean, the thing is that the primacy of truth has got to be the most important thing that's at stake here. Let truth have its say. And along with that, let's just return to the affirmations of the Reformation. It is solely by Scripture that we hold and cling to our faith, solely by Scripture. And what does the Scripture say about a flat earth? Well, indeed, if you turn to the Bible, you'll find there's lots of references. Use the internet, Google and so forth to do your research. It'll happen quickly. Things just fall into place very quickly once you start investigating the issue of a flat earth. And there's a lot of history and people there who are prepared to help you. So lots of videos on YouTube, including a few of my own. And the Google is a great search engine. Google it. Google a flat earth. And be careful with the information that you look at. Use your filter to take out the absolute nonsense that's being talked. And particularly this bucket of vitriol that's poured everywhere over anybody who wants to go near, a fresh look at what the world really looks like. Come on, who of you have seen it with your eyes? Who has seen what the world actually looks like, the earth, with their eyes? Who's seen a globe with their eyes? Who's done that? And actually stop and think about it. And even people I know who are well educated become very reactionary at the suggestion that the earth is flat. So what does that tell us about education? That it is unable to be critical and reflect and to indulge in self-criticism. Well, it's failed, if that's the case. Anyway, I'm going to call it quits here, and we'll see you again shortly.